This is the age of the multidimensional self.
Hi there, it's Kelly here from Divine Alchemy Healing. Happy New Year, everybody. And today, as our first interview of 2025, we've got the lovely Rodney with us. So, hello, Rodney. Happy New Year. And
Hello
how?
there, Happy New Year, and Happy New Year to everybody that's watching this video. I hope they had a great Christmas.
Yeah. And it's January, so we're going to talk about some restorative work, aren't we? And you've got lots to tell us. And he just showed me earlier your new pendulum, so maybe start with that, or however
Yes,
you want to start.
sure. Yeah, well, as you say, lots to talk about, but we can kick off with the pendulum design.
Yeah,
I know I'm not the only one that designs pendulums, but and there's some excellent designs out there. But this one is my latest creation. I call it the Delta Wave.
wow.
And I'll just tell people how I come to design the form of the pendulum, which in this case is based on the brainwave pattern of someone in a delta brainwave state.
Right.
So that was the kind of inspiration for this particular one, and I was looking at the wave pattern, the EEG wave pattern of somebody who's in a delta brainwave state, which is a deeply relaxed state of mind. It's not quite what we call the dowsing state of mind, which is an alpha state, but it's one beyond that, where you're going to a more deeper level of relaxation.
Yeah.
And so I incorporated the proportions of the curvature of the actual EEG. So we end up with what looks like a kind of a little sort of hourglass thing that if you turn it on your side, you can imagine it being like a ripple, and then a longer ripple here. So what I do is I incorporate the proportions of the measurements of those peaks and troughs into the particular features of the pendulum as you look at it. But this one is a little bit different in that I've also incorporated the golden proportion in it as well. So I've managed to get both proportions in the same design. And this is something that I'm going to do from now on with my pendulums. I'm going to, it's first of all, you need the inspiration for the design in the first place, whereby you want to keep those vital proportions, because proportion is very important for containing a kind of energy information field, because it's the interaction of the shape with the subtle frequencies that it interacts with. And so obviously what you're wanting in a pendulum design is something that is harmonizing in terms of the work that you're doing. So very often, we're using a pendulum for balancing the chaos of a situation. For example, somebody may have things going on in their life that are unwanted, chaotic, unpleasant. And there's always that aim with your pendulum work to harmonize and balance those chaotic energies. And we often hear the saying, everything is energy. And if we look at everything as energy, then that's where we're coming from with pendulum work, whether it be healing the body or the mind, the emotions, or things that are going wrong in your life. Then it's about focusing on harmonizing that disharmony, that discordant energy that exists, that's part of the situation. So that's how I approach my pendulum design, really. I like it to be something which represents a state of harmony, a state of something which promotes balance. And also something I think as well, when you're using proportions such as the golden mean or the golden ratio, it harmonizes with very high vibrational energy. You know, it's not called a sacred proportion for nothing. You know, we see it in nature, we see it in flowers, we see it in formations of shells and all sorts of things in nature. I can't quite think of all of the pictures that I've seen
Yeah.
that incorporate it, but it's a very, very important proportion. It's one that obviously resonates with creation.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're talking about resonating with creation, you're talking about resonating with the divine plan, because that's where it comes from. It comes from the divine plan. And so, yes, if we can incorporate the golden proportion. Here's another pendulum that people have seen, but it's called the Batiser's pendulum. But I've incorporated the proportions that were already in the design, and again, they match various aspects of the pattern. The form of it match with the golden proportion. One part of the pendulum in mathematical proportion to the other part of the pendulum.
Love that, because
I did it as well with this one. This is the Ascension pendulum that people will have seen. I like using. That's one that I feel quite drawn to. This one I don't know. I kept the proportions, but that's one. That's my version of the Ibrahim Karim's pendulum. He uses that design to balance the energies of architecture, of buildings and rooms and that sort of thing.
it's funny.
And just another quick one while I'm showing pendulums. Another one of my favorites, which you mentioned earlier, actually, is the Jed pendulum, based on the ancient Egyptian design that has come from hieroglyphics, and of course they were found little clay forms of it were found in Egyptian mummies and within the artifacts, the ancient Egyptian artifacts. And there's a lot been written on the Jed, so we can actually attribute quite a lot of very positive symbolism to the Jed pendulum. I've recently done a PDF write-up on what I feel are the main, you know, sort of focused symbolic aspects of the design with respect to its use as a pendulum. So, for example, strength and protection, and also for improving bad luck. So this represents positive luck, and it's a balance of polarity, so it's a polarity balancer too. It was used as a sort of a scepter to balance in disharmonious energies, or so it was believed. And I feel very much that is part of the energy of the Jed pendulum. It has many uses, and I've tried to summarize it in the PDF.
And that's in the files section of your
In the
group.
files section, that's correct, yes.
Because I'm in so many pendulum groups, I have a struggle remembering everybody's group names.
Yes, that's right. Now I did ask for questions so that I could answer particular things that were bothering people. Didn't get any, but one of the issues that people have been sort of talking about is the movement of the pendulum and what causes it. And I wrote a piece on the movement of the pendulum, which is really it comes from your body, and I know the people don't like to hear this in every case, that it's something which is quite you know, sort of real world in a way, that it's actually a physical transmission of the movement of your body to the pendulum. Well, that doesn't make it any less metaphysical in its use, of course. It just means that the actual physical movement is being caused by your body. So your body, you know, we say that in pendulum dowsing, you are the instrument.
Yeah.
A lot of people understand this because they use body dowsing. It's something that I don't use actually,
Yeah.
but use it by being aware of your muscles, and you can do it with your fingers, or you can find out whether your body is leaning in a certain way, forward or backward.
That as
That
well.
one,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, the strength.
Yeah.
People use it quite successfully, and it's not something I do because I've always found the pendulum very, very easy to use, and that's all I use the rods as well, but that's the way I do things. But no, what happens is that obviously if you could clamp your hand in a clamp, then the pendulum wouldn't move. It requires your body to move, but the important thing to say is that the movement is unconscious.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you're tapping into unconscious knowledge, and that's really what dowsing's all about.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
making something visible which you are picking up, and it is all down to um, one's intuition.
Yeah.
People who are very intuitive about things make very good dowsers, and people who use their gut, say go with your gut feeling.
Yeah.
And people who go with their gut feeling very often lead very successful lives because they're continually dowsing, but they don't know it.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
see,
And
this is the
pendulums, they
this
don't
is
move on their own, do they?
no, that's right. They might not pick up a pendulum,
Yeah.
but they're
Like it's
very
not.
used to feeling that intuitive signal,
Yeah.
going with it, and finding that they were right to go with that feeling, you know. And that can be done in business, it can be done in every aspect of your life. And so therefore it follows that in every aspect of your life, if you are able to use a pendulum correctly, then it will be helpful across the board. There's
Would,
really nothing that it can't help with.
would you have any advice for people that are struggling to get a movement through, it's the micro movements of the muscles, isn't
It's the
it?
micro movement of
You're
the muscle.
unconscious, but
That's correct. That's correct. Because you can hold your hand still, but of
yeah,
course it's not still. It looks still, but it's moving.
yeah,
That's the thing. And if you put a pendulum in a clamp and you put your finger on, say this stand here, and I put my finger on the top, and the
yeah,
pendulum was hung at the bottom, then if that was still, it wouldn't move, of course, because the transmission. So my tip
yeah,
is uh, one of the biggest enemies of successful dowsing is muscular tension.
yeah, yeah,
So before you do a dowsing session, just rid yourself of muscular tension. Now, people may have their own ways of doing that. I just have a moment or two of centering myself, just a little moment of meditation. And I always start, and this is another thing, it's opening and closing your session. Because when you do any metaphysical aspect where you're opening your consciousness, going beyond the physical, then you need to put that protection in place. So you open the session and then you close the session down. Otherwise, you're leaving yourself open to energies, some of which you might not want.
yeah,
So this is a little word of warning about anybody who comes into dowsing just out of curiosity or just excited to see that they can get these answers seemingly from nowhere. But what I would say is that when you get an answer from your pendulum, it's giving you the answer to which you already know the answer to. You know it on some level, but now you're making it visible through the response that your body is having. Now, that doesn't mean that because the thing about dowsing is that your body is interacting with the energy
yeah,
of that dowsing subject. That the thing that you're focused on there is an interaction there. So we can divide this into two. We can divide it into the mental aspect and the physical. So the mental aspect is when you focus your mind. You can state a question, or you can use a map, or you can use some representation just to focus your mind on the subject, but you're mentally putting the question out there now. So what happens when you say a question? Well, the other thing about it is you asked about how to hold the pendulum for the best result. Now, I noticed somebody had asked, can I put my elbow down? You can.
Yeah.
That doesn't, I never do, but you can put your elbow down like that because there is still movement. You're not. The reason why I don't do that is because I've noticed a lot of people when they start dowsing, if you have a group of people and you're teaching them, they will immediately, I don't know whether it's sort of like an instinct, but they'll hold themselves stiff.
Yeah.
So they'll put the tension in place before they start. So that's the opposite of what you want to do. Now, if you find that you can do that in a very relaxed way, and that's fine. But I like to keep my elbow away from my body and to hold it in a way that I can feel almost detached from my arm. Because what you want to do, this was another thing. People said, "Oh, I can think about my pendulum and it will change." Yes, I'll do it now. Look, I'll think anti-clockwise.
Yeah.
Anti-clockwise, 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 and it's going anti-clockwise, backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. So you can focus on what you want the movement clockwise, and it will seem as if it's doing it by itself. But in that way, you're consciously putting your will into the movement, and it's doing it, even though it's seeming as though it's not. So a relaxed stance, keep your shoulders, get the tension out of your shoulders, and you're good to go.
You could roll your shoulders a little.
Roll your shoulders, yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Another aspect of the beginning of a session is grounding. Now, physical grounding is all well and good, that's a subject in itself, but I think it's important as well when you're doing your opening to incorporate some level of what we might call psychic grounding, where you're literally putting your energy down through your body into the earth. People do it in different ways. My method is to see a beam of white light, because I see that as connecting with my higher self, my connection to the divine, coming through my body, through the soles of my feet, and going right into the center of the earth. That's just how I do it, but people can do it in different ways.
Nice, simple.
So I'm just going to reach over here.
Oh yeah.
And there's a preparation now in the file section. There is a psychic protection file. I didn't write it, but I recommend it very strongly to people. There's a lot of information in there. You don't need to use it all every time you douse, but read it and pick out of it. Now, I do the opening and the closing, but if you notice in the little section here, there's a section about like a paragraph here called preparation for dowsing. And one of them is, it really helps you to ground. It says, you swing your pendulum. I am now with my whole being fully grounded into the epicenter of the Divine Mother Earth.
Nice, yeah.
And you just pause at that point, let the pendulum rotate 2 or 3 times, and then you continue and absorb the high consciousness earth energy, carrying the vibration of abundance, love, joy, happiness, safety, protection, and bliss into my being. Now imagine all that positive energy that you're wrapping yourself in. At the start of your session. This is highly protective. And there is another part of that document that goes into a much more involved process that takes about 1/4 of an hour, which is worth doing at regular intervals, especially if you're a sensitive, or an energy worker, because you want to build up those extra levels of protection. Because if you are an energy worker and you put yourself at risk, you put your clients at risk. Because energy can jump and transmit. So please be aware of that. If you are a practitioner, an energy worker, that is very, very important. You protect yourself, you work on yourself, and you also have to protect your environment as well. Make sure your environment is cleansed and clean, and all these things you can do with your pendulum.
Yeah.
Okay.
That leads
So
us,
that brings,
doesn't it?
sorry,
I said that leads us nicely into house clearing.
it leads us perfectly. Well, I've done a couple just lately, and there's some issues that I thought I'll bring that up in my next talk because it's all quite interesting. It brought up a few new things as well, for me anyway. Other people may say, oh, well, I knew that anyway. But how I would do a house clearing, I've done a couple, and I'll give both examples. One, and it really doesn't matter whether you're on site in the house or whether you go to the property, you can just as effectively clear energies. So one was a house, a friend of a friend, and the house was being put up for sale, but not one inquiry,
Right.
not one for this house. It just wasn't selling. It was a nice house too. There was no reason for it not to sell. And so I was asked to have a look at it. So now, if you're doing distant work, it's always a good idea to have what's called a witness. In radionics, we call it a radionic witness. In healing, it's something that represents the person, like a lock of hair, a signature, a drop of blood, a sample of saliva, all that sort of thing. Now, with a house, it's the address.
Yeah.
Just write the address down on a white card, and use your dowsing over that to find out, firstly, what the energy is, what negative energy is. Now I start with I've got various ones of these. This was one I used lately, but I like to use these sort of dowsing charts.
Yeah.
Which are like that. I don't like the ones that are circular because I like to see exactly where it's moving to. Now this one is entitled Environmental Noxious Energies.
Yeah.
So each little section of the chart is a particular noxious energy that you wouldn't want in your house. And so when I used the and what you do is you place the address that you've made your witness card, because that represents the property in this section here at the center of the chart. And then you basically ask, you hold your pendulum over the witness and you ask, indicate the most appropriate negative energy that requires clearing from this property. You can use your own words, but that's a question that I would ask. And I found in this particular case, it was trapped nature spirits.
Yeah.
So I asked that. Then you can ask. You can go deeper into it. Then I asked, is there more than one? I think there was four. There was four nature spirits that were trapped in this property. And what you find as well, if you develop a sensitivity, when you ask questions and you get a response, you get a feeling, you get a kind of like a communication psychically about what's going on. So I immediately got an image that somebody had was very much aware of this of an entity being within the property, and they tried in a clumsy way to do something about it.
Yeah.
So they'd done some ritual or other to what they ended up doing was putting a protection seal around the property and trapping the nature spirits. Now, where I live here there's a lot of nature spirits around. We live in the foothills of some mountains. There are all sorts of different nature. If you go for a walk, you go through different energies to do with earth, air, fire, and water. As you walk around, you can feel the changes from one area to another very acutely. Lots of nature spirits, and so they can wander into people's houses. So obviously, what I needed to do was break the seal that was trapping the nature spirits. And once you've done that, then you can raise the vibration of the property. You can then put white light protection around the property. and you can use, then at that point you can then start using decrees to draw interest in the property.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's a very simple process, really. You sort the initial problem out, you raise the vibration of the property, and then you become more specific with your decree and ask and send the program for interest in the property and for the property to sell. And then within a few weeks, it's sold. Immediately, they started to get people not only coming through the estate agent, but walking past the property and knocking on the door. It started immediately. I got the feedback, and only yesterday I heard that the house was sold.
Wow.
The property was sold. So this is what you can do. If you approach things right now, you can also go to a property, which I do like to do occasionally because I don't often get the chance to use my rods, which I always use. I like to use in locations, and so this is how I would do a property if I'm there. If I would, I like to just first of all get the property that I visited yesterday. I got no sensation of a presence or anything negative about it.
Right.
But the person who lived there was very, very sensitive, and she knew that there was something not quite right. So, you always have to listen. It's no good arrogantly saying that there's nothing here. There's something there. So I took my rods and walked around the property, and yes, there was something there. So what I do is I take my rods and I just set the intention to look for any energies that exist within the property.
Yeah.
I don't even bother to state a particular type of energy. I'm just looking for an energy source within the property. And as I walk along, and I got the when you're using the rods, they cross over at the positive point. And sure enough, they crossed over at a point where this person knew, because when she walked through it, she felt a heaviness. Now, I didn't feel a heaviness at all, but my dowsing indicated that there was, and I was quite surprised, but it was definitely there. And you can test it by walking backwards and forwards, approaching it from a different way, backing up and watching the rods straighten up, and then you go back into it. And so then what I did was take the chart and placed it on the floor right in the center of the zone where the rods had crossed over, and I used my pendulum to find out what the nature of that energy was. And in this case, the nature of that energy was let me remind me, spirit of the house.
Right.
Okay. Now, what you find is if you've got a chart, you might get a result on a chart that best fits the situation. Because for me, spirit of the house might mean just that every house has a spirit, its own spirit. Every house has its own energy, which you would call the spirit of the house. But that's not what this was.
Right.
It was kind of a spirit of the house, but it wasn't the spirit of the house. If you see what I mean. It was what it actually was the energy of emotional turmoil from a previous occupant.
Right. Yeah.
So something had happened at that point. Maybe that person had, I don't know, received some news at that point, or I don't know why it was there, why it was that particular point in the property. It was rather a strange position, actually. It was sort of just outside the bathroom door, leading to kind of a dining area. And but this it was an energy that was linked to a negative emotion of sadness.
Right.
So somebody had I immediately became a sense of the person's sadness. I felt sad, you know. Not, I didn't take it on board, but I kind of felt it here
yeah,
that once I tuned into it. And so that energy required clearing. So we went through clearing decrees to release that energy, to clear it. And once we've gone through some clearing decrees, of course, I do actually check with a yes or no. And for that, I simply just wrote in the corner 2 lines,
oh
yes and no, like that. So I'm asking my questions. I mean, I can't actually remember exactly the whole, I didn't write them down, I just went through them. But I'm asking more details about the energy. And then when I've done the clearing, I ask, is there any further clearing required? Um, and we go through it that way until you get total confirmation that there's no further work that requires to be done. All the negative energy has been neutralized, released, cleared from the property, and then, of course, the job's done. Um,
you spin in some positive energies as well afterwards, like maybe harmony, for instance, or
what I do is I use Eric Hunter's advice on changing the energy of the flat to
yeah,
blue green.
yeah,
Um, Actually, blue green is we say turquoise, don't we?
yeah,
In
yeah,
England, I don't know whether it's an American thing. They say blue green, but it's turquoise to us, isn't it?
yes, yeah,
Um, I don't suppose it matters what you use,
yeah,
or just blue, you know. But you know, it's an interesting thing. If anybody is doing this sort of work, I really recommend Eric Hunter's color healing course because he does a very interesting thing whereby he and obviously do the course, but I won't, you know, sort of give the whole course away, but it's based on the spectrum of color from blue to red, representing different levels of the cycles of reality. So you can go from, you know, the obvious cycle is birth to death,
yeah,
or the cycles of the seasons, you know, each season having its own energy,
yeah,
and each of those energies being appropriate to a particular piece of work. For example, if you're starting a project or you're starting a business, the energy you want is perhaps spring, where everything's bursting into life and beginning and starting, you
yeah,
know, in its newness.
yeah,
So that energy is appropriate, for example, to a new business.
yeah,
And then later on, you want the prosperity and abundance,
yeah,
which perhaps comes in the summer when we have that abundant energy of harvest and you know
yeah.
everything ripening and coming to its fullness. So it's a fascinating course, and I give a little thumbs up to that. But yes, so house clearing is important. Now, the other thing that I came across with house clearing, this on a personal level around my own home, because you've always got to be vigilant. It's never a one-time thing. And I noticed that one of the things that can attract and trap negative energy into a property is noise and music. You know, the loud sort
Yeah,
of what's that music? That's that dum dum
yeah,
dum kind of music.
yeah,
What's
like
that kind of
music or
that sort of
yeah,
music? Yeah. Now that can attract a lot of negativity. Because you find as well that where this music is going on, you get a lot of people using drugs and alcohol.
yeah,
So there's an association there, isn't there?
yeah.
And this energy can draw negative things to itself.
And maybe
And
the artists who create that sort of music, possibly, not going to generalize them all, but they could be those sort of people as well. And that's why they like creating a certain type of music.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah, on that level, yes, that's right. If we look on the sort of the house in the street level, as it were, you know, you might think, well, I don't listen to that sort of music. But what's happened locally for me is there's a small square a
Mm.
few hundred meters away, and for some reason they've started to run events from there
Right.
where this sort of music occasionally.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, after one of these events, I started to feel an energy coming into the house. So I doused the house, and yes, and it was it was right where I sit. Um, Now, so energy, of course, can come through windows. And the other thing is, it's not only music, it's the discordant sounds, because those that music is discordant anyway, in my view. Well, it is energetically. There's
Yeah.
no doubt about it. It
No
is.
death
But
metal.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But for example, you know, down my street, there's been a lot of renovation,
Right.
and they've been using a lot of these whizzer saws, you know, that make that vile sound, that sort of, you know, that noise that
Yeah.
the whizzer, and it's such a discordant sound. It went on for days, and this obviously imprints a negative energy. And where does it come through? It comes through your windows, doesn't it?
Funny, I had someone, the road I live on, there's often cars parked opposite, so someone has to give way.
Yes,
And a few nights back, two sort of boy racers had a bit of a face off right outside my house, and they were there
yes,
for about 10 minutes arguing, effing and blinding. And
yes,
the next morning, I could feel this energy shift, and I
yes,
hadn't put it together right away, but I sort of thought, my house feels like it needs a clear.
yes,
And because it was right outside my bedroom window as well, to the point
yeah,
I got up and looked out the window to see what the heck was going on, you know.
that's right.
I went round and did a clear, and I actually did every room because I sort of thought, I just actually, while I'm doing it, I'm going to do
That's what you
the
should
whole
do.
thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, that's right. And again, the technique I take is to find out the location
yeah,
where is being most affected.
yeah.
And unfortunately for me, it was exactly where I sit and watch television. It was literally.
Right,
So now, what you can do in these cases is you can use different things, but I like to use color,
right, okay.
right? So what you do is you douse to find the most effective color
Yeah,
to, I want to use the word antidote or neutralize
yeah,
that negative energy. Once you've found the color, you then douse to find out the best place to locate the color.
yeah,
But when I say that, I literally mean sort of obtaining something of that color. So I took a piece of cloth,
yeah,
and it was the color that I needed was violet.
okay,
And then I doused to find the best location.
yeah,
I literally went with my hand with the cloth to moved it around the room like this to find out where. So just to be clear how I do that is if I'm using the pendulum to find the energy source that's negative, I literally use the pendulum around the room and note where I get an anti-clockwise swing.
yeah,
Right. So that's I mean, for people might ask, well, my polarities are different to that. I'm not sure how that works because what we're talking about now when we're using the pendulum in this way is a form of physical dowsing.
yeah,
So your body is responding to the actual energy that you're walking into. And that would usually, a negative energy would usually give you, regardless of your polarity,
yeah,
would give you an anti-clockwise swing. So then what you want to do is you want to find the best place to place that color, that antidote, that neutralizing color or antidoting color, you know, where it's going to be best placed. So you're looking at your pendulum and you're moving the color. And then when you find the right place, the pendulum will then give you, it will change to a positive swing.
Yeah.
So then you place the coloured item in that spot, either, if it's a shelf, that's very handy, or you might need to sort of, pin it to the back of I'd pin it to the back of a chair actually.
Yeah.
But, try and find a way of placing it in that location.
I really like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and do that later.
It's a great way. I mean, you can use the other thing you can use is like these. This is what I use as well. Stickers, colored stickers.
Yeah, that's really
They're
good.
great. Obviously, you've got to be careful what you put them on. If you put them on your best furniture, it could leave
Yeah.
a sticky mess. But you can find a way of doing it without damaging your wall or your furnishings. But that's a great way for people a very simple way
Yeah.
for people to neutralize these negative energies that come in this way.
And it's,
Um,
yeah, like say if we did just like, no, a general for the viewers, is there any commands that you would use as just for a general clearing of space? Not, because there's a specific thing that we know is going on, but if someone wanted to just do a nice general space clearing, is there anything you can recommend that we
yes,
do?
certainly. Keep it simple. Clear all negative energies,
Should we do?
entities,
I've got your.
any kind
Yeah.
from this room.
Yeah.
Yes, you can do that. Yes, so you just basically swing,
Okay. So
clear all non-beneficial, negative or harmful energies from this room. There we go. It's as simple as that.
yeah.
And then you can let's
Things that
raise the vibration
raise the vibration.
of the room to the highest possible level.
As possible levels.
There we go.
Oh,
And you can do the same thing. You can, raise the consciousness of the room. You can send love to the room. You can harmonize the energy of the room
yeah.
to yourself and the occupants of the house.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yes, you harmonize the environmental energies to yourself and to the occupants of your house.
Yeah, and if you also like if you live on a busy road, or like my dear ex-husband, he lived opposite a pub, which is it was one of those very noisy ones that passed out,
absolutely, yeah.
Where it was it was a sort of pub that come club, so it'd have like late nights, and anything like that, or even I suppose, like if you are sensitive to your environment and maybe you do live in a nice place, but there's always some sort of, when I used to work on a very lovely private estate.
Yeah.
I remember commenting once, it's so noisy up here because there's always gardeners trimming or leaf.
Yeah.
It's never quiet,
No, it isn't.
There's all this beautiful land and around you, it's like it seemed like every day one of them had the gardening team in.
Yes, yes.
So just like harmonizing the energy from all those sort of noises that are not nice for you to be listening.
No.
Are they? They're
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes, yes. And of course, the other thing is, if you're having work done to your own house, it's trauma to the house. So the house spirit is traumatized. So you need to heal that.
Yeah.
And you can, it's just come to me actually. You can send healing remedies, just as you would to a human. So you have the Bach flower remedy, something like Star of Bethlehem for trauma. send the energy of the Bach flower Star of Bethlehem to the spirit of the house.
Yeah, that's really nice, isn't it?
You know, and do it if you've had a, you know, like if you're knocking walls out, or you're taking windows out. It's very traumatic to the physical structure.
Yeah. Also, what
Um,
if you don't like your house? Like, I love my house, but like, and I sort of feel like I put a lot of love into it.
yes,
Obviously, not for some people, they're in an environment or a home that they don't actually like, or maybe they're in a block of flats where there's a lot of noise going on, and that makes them sort of feel like I can't relax here. So you could definitely do work towards that, couldn't you? So,
you could. Yes, I mean, there's all sorts of things that you could harmonize within. You know, like say it's a new flat.
yeah,
You know, you want to harmonize the energy of the flat to you, or other occupants as well. If it's just yourself, harmonize, and you swing your pendulum and harmonize yourself to the energy of the home. Obviously, do what we've done before. You need to make sure the home is cleared. You need to raise the vibrational frequency of the home, send blue energy to the home, send love to the spirit of the home, and the other thing that you can do is you can harmonize your furniture to the home.
that's a really
So you're putting new furniture, and to begin with, when you put something new, there is a discord there, which will eventually balance if you just leave it.
yeah.
But to begin with, there is a discordant energy. You might love that furniture, it might be absolutely great, but to begin with, it's got to settle into the energy of the house. So you can speed that up with your pendulum and harmonize the energy of this furniture to the energy of my home.
Yeah, and you could also, going back to music, you could put some solfeggio frequencies on to play in your home even while you're doing the work, or just, to re-energize the home. And they all have different vibrations, don't they?
Yes, and you can program the music to carry any particular frequency. So I mean, obviously, your mind can be boggled at this, thinking, well, what do I do? But think of all the things that you want from your home, and ideas will come to you, and then you can program the music. You hold the pendulum over if you to see, I'm old-fashioned.
Yeah.
I don't have. I'm still with records, but yeah, program the energy of the record.
Yeah.
To take the vibration of love into the house along with the music that's being played.
I think
it's not complicated, it's very simple.
Yeah.
But the principle that I'm giving the viewers is that you can program it for what you want.
Yeah.
You can program things. Another little illustration that I would use when we were talking about furniture into houses. Have you noticed? We've all got our cars. We all like our cars. If something goes, say something goes wrong with your car, right? You take it to the mechanic, and he finds exactly what's gone wrong with it. Oh, this part of your car's broken. It needs a new one, right? He replaces it with a brand new part. You think, great, my car's fine.
And isn't
Shortly after, something will go wrong with your car. Maybe completely unrelated to that part, something will go wrong afterward because of the same principle. When you put that new part, you've got to harmonize that new part to the spirit of the car, to the energy of the car, and then you won't get that happen. It won't happen, but you harmonize that part's energy to the energy of your car, and then it'll be okay. But it just illustrates the point that I'm making.
Yeah.
That energies need to harmonize with themselves.
Yeah.
When they're put together.
That's it. Yeah.
Exactly. It's the same that happens with transplants. You get foreign tissue to begin with, but you harmonize. It harmonizes to your energy. It becomes your energy.
And I
Um,
spent
yeah,
months before my this transplant because I knew when it was happening, or roughly when it was happening. It kept getting delayed, but for about probably 9 months, every day I'd do this thing where I'd sort of get my body ready to sort of connect with Eric, who's my donor,
yeah,
his kidney.
yeah.
In the process of it is going to be coming in here soon, and we want to make a lovely space for it and, feel its acceptance coming into the body.
Sure.
With my first transplant, that came from a cadaver, but we did the work afterwards.
Yes. That's right. And I know you do a lot of energy work on yourself and you benefit from that. And something that you can do as well, if you which you're quite right to, I think all practitioners should work on themselves. Number one, we
Primarily.
go back to what I said in the beginning. There's this, if your energy is wrong, you other people are at risk. Um,
And
Something that you can do, which is very useful if you do to enhance the energy work you're doing on yourself, is to harmonize and coordinate the energy of the etheric body with the physical body.
yeah,
Because when we work on the energy field of our cell or anybody, we're not working on the physical substance of the body. Of course, we're working on the etheric double of the body. And there are occasions, and this is the cause of a lot of people who find that they don't respond to energy work or radionics or that kind of thing, is there is a some kind of block between the information flow of the etheric body to the physical. There's a lack of coordination between the two. So you can heal the etheric body, but the information isn't coming down onto the physical. So you can use a command to harmonize and ensure coordination between the etheric and the physical body.
that's a really important point, I think.
Yeah, it can solve a lot of problems though, where people aren't getting, the results they want. Now, the other thing that I was going to talk about, maybe we can finish on this, is that people have asked me about the stand, the pendulum stand. Now, we can use the pendulum we can program the pendulum, just like we can program anything
Yeah,
uh, to work for us. So we can turn the pendulum in a way it's kind of like a transmitter. We can program it as such. So let's take a pendulum here.
yeah,
And now I do have a protocol that I've written out for people in the group.
yeah,
So if you go on and you can print out the protocol for energy balancing at a distance. I think I've called it distance balancing or something like that in the file section.
yeah,
And for this, it is designed. It's very simple, but what you want is you want the stand, the pendulum, and a witness.
yeah.
Now, here's a witness I took of. It's a little map
Right.
of Los Angeles,
Okay. Yeah.
right? And I put this picture in the group actually, so I use that as the witness. And first of all, you use your pendulum over the witness.
Yeah.
Now, I think so one of my group did a very good little command. I'm just trying to find it. Um, I know which one was it that and I actually changed it because I thought hers was better than mine.
Right.
Uh, I can't. Right. Do you know? I don't know which one because I've got a few on here, but I'll just read a few out.
Yeah.
It is my intention that this pendulum. Sorry, I'll start again. It is my intention that this pendulum's passive energy emission is amplified by 10,000% and continuously, or for as long as is appropriate for the highest good, emitting harmonizing energy to, you insert the name at this point.
Well, let's use the LA thing because it would be good, wouldn't it, for everyone to do
Yes.
this?
harmonizing energy to Los Angeles on all appropriate levels of its being.
And I've just written down Los Angeles on my piece of paper because I haven't got a stand at the moment, but I just do this bit with it.
Absolutely, you can do that bit, that's fine. And then you've now programmed your pendulum to do that, and you can set it up
Yeah.
on the stand or however you want to do it, and place the stand so the pendulum is pointing down at the witness, which is in this case a little map.
Yeah.
And that's all you do. And I leave it there. I don't, you don't need to do anything. I just leave it there. I mean, there are other little things on that's basically it. But there's there's fuller information on the protocol, little tweaks that you can give it in that document. But the other thing as well, which I found quite interesting, is in the maps that I looked at, there was one map. I don't know whether this one might be it actually, because it's got little dots on. It's got marked on the map the areas of high crime.
Well, yeah.
So what you can do there is you can take this is something that I like to do. I take a stylus of some description, and then I take the pendulum, and then you can focus the decree on that. So I'll take one of those points and place it there like this. And what I would do is I would use Raymond Grace's technique, because he does a lot of environmental work. And you can ask, is there any negative, energetic or demonic involvement in this area? Wow, straight away. I put it on one of these dots and, straight away it moved. Right. So then you can I like to use his spirit doctors technique. So would the spirit doctors be willing to help in removing the demonic entity from this area that's influencing it in a negative way? Yes. So now I invoke the spirit doctors and ask them to remove the demonic entities that are affecting this area and take them to the appropriate dimension where they will not harm any other being.
Wow.
There we go. And it's a very quick way to clear an area. It's very effective. I know it sounds so easy. You say, how can that work? But it does. Believe me, it does. So I'm going to go around all those dots and do that, and we can clear these areas. Everybody can do it.
Yes.
And just prove it to themselves.
That'd be wonderful. Maybe could you put a photo up in your group of that map with the dots on? Because then we can sort of
I'll do that. I'll put that in the group. Yes, that's a good idea.
Because
that's a good idea. A really useful tool.
Experiments done on where they had 200 people meditating for 24 hours a day in various places. It was in America somewhere.
Yeah.
But and the crime rate dropped.
Absolutely. So again, so once you've cleared an area, you can then send the positive energy into that area. Send harmonizing energy, send love, send peace, tranquility, serenity, raise its vibrational frequency. You can ask for angelic help to improve the environment in that area, all these things, and that will have a huge effect. So I would ask everybody to get involved in that area. It may be that these dreadful things, these awful, it focuses people's minds to be able to maybe change that energy in a way that's going to be for the lasting good.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
It just changes one person's experience of being in that area.
yes,
It's enough, isn't it? But
it is.
imagine if we were all doing this,
That's right.
power behind that to change that environment.
That's right.
And it's funny, Frog and I often watch these YouTube documentaries about quite poor places and the environment there. And I always think about it and think it must be so, like, even the way there's always loads of junk and mess everywhere. Like there seems to be
Yeah,
piles of rubbish here and there, like there's no one coming around and ever taking any pride
sure,
in the area that they live in.
sure.
And it just adds into that feeling of depression and hopelessness.
Absolutely. I've been watching some YouTube videos of various places that are shocking. You know, some of the places that I know as well
Yeah,
and have known them to be beautiful. What's happened to them? Their energy has completely changed. And as you say, piles of rubbish
yeah,
and decay, signs of physical decay. And you know, exactly, these are indications that something is very seriously wrong, and we must all do what we can to change that energy. Um, I mean, one of these places that I was really shocked about, I don't know whether I don't want to, but it was Torbay, you know, in
oh,
the south,
yes,
and the English Riviera, I think it was
yeah,
called, isn't it?
yes, that's right.
Uh, I remember going years ago. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. The energy was really high. And I saw a YouTube video of it. Another one was Bournemouth.
Yeah,
I remember going as a child to Bournemouth. Lovely, lovely place.
yeah.
Uh, oh, completely different. The
It
energy
sounds
has
like we've been
changed.
watching the same videos, really.
I wonder, yes.
'Cause, yeah, we've been watching one that they've just been going around places in the UK in particular.
That's right.
That everything, like, and obviously there is a lack of money being spent on these places,
Sure.
and there's a lack of jobs and things like that. But it's shocking. It
It
really is,
really is.
and if we can do anything to help anywhere in the world, uh,
Yes,
these places, it's a lovely thing to do, isn't it?
it is. Yes, yes. And if everybody sort of concentrated maybe on an area that's close to
Yeah,
their heart, as it were, you know,
yeah.
like they might,
They're
you
feeling,
know, we all have those places, don't we? You know, where we were born or where we lived for a long time,
yeah,
and sort of put that love back into those places. It could lift the whole environment for everybody that's living there, you know.
yeah,
Because I was born in Grimsby, and Grimsby's a, you know,
yeah,
and I don't want to talk, I would never talk Grimsby down because it's a great place, you know, because oh, it's so grim, but you know, it's suffered through the lack of the fishing industry, which has
yeah,
been decimated
yeah,
by the cod wars back in the 70s, and you know, which was the main industry. So of course there was a problem with that, but you know, there's a lot. It's you know, there's a lot of positive things going on as well. So if we can accentuate and send high vibrational energy to these positive projects, you know, people watching this video may know of some of these projects in their own towns that could transform the environment in a very positive way. We can make sure that it does
yeah,
by energetically programming it to.
yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's a good use of your pendulum time.
And a
It's
flip
quite
side to that is when people, either become very ungrateful or they dislike the place they live. But you could say that about, I often say as an experience that, like, if I'm unwell, I try not to tell many people.
yes,
My parents have to know, and
yes,
unfortunately, my mum, she is a worrier, as all mums would be, the
sure.
son was ill. But I then I always coach her and say, now, what I want you to do, Mum, is think of me as healthy and radiant with lots of energy,
That's
Can't
excellent point.
be, yeah, laying in bed, sort of going, oh, you know,
It's an excellent point, and it's something for people to take note of. You know, I notice in churches when people say pray for person X,
yeah,
and immediately people's minds are on them being ill.
yeah.
And I, I'm
See,
afraid to say that
yeah,
this is not good because you don't want to do that. To pray for somebody, keep them in mind, see them healthy. You know, see them surrounded by light, sunshine,
enjoying life.
beneficial energies,
Yeah,
flowers, beautiful
yeah,
surroundings. This is how you should pray for somebody, you know,
absolutely.
and
And the,
ask for all those things, but
yeah,
keep that vision,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
and if they are in pain, think about them being in the most comfortable body
Yes,
that they
yes,
possibly, because that's so helpful
yes,
to have people holding you in comfort,
that's right.
and it really works.
Oh, absolutely
Yeah,
works. It's just another, it's just another way of using the same energies that we do when we do any of this pendulum
yeah,
work, you know.
yeah,
Yeah, and certainly pendulum manifestation, pendulum healing, and alchemy is a different category of pendulum work to pendulum dowsing. But they are put together, and rightly so in a way, because if you can't dowse, then it's like sort of doing something with one arm tied behind your back. You know, if you can dowse, you can find out stuff
that's it.
and know how to adjust your pendulum healing work to the situation.
Yeah, yeah, I like using the charts to find out
I do, I
specifics
do.
and then go from there, you know, but I also use commands or a decree. So,
That's right.
but you know, also if you do think you can't douse, then again, you're adding into that energy by saying I can't douse.
Yes,
Start thinking of it. This is going to be easy for me. I'm in tune. I'm
sure.
really good at dowsing. Start adding that into your thoughts so that you're
Correct.
putting,
And a little tip for somebody who's coming into dowsing and really hasn't got the confidence, why not just go straight in and do pendulum commands and
yeah,
decrees? Because with a decree, you are literally just taking the pendulum, and anybody can do
yeah,
this. You
exactly.
swing it and then you hold it.
Yeah,
Now, the decree will be very useful to you anyway, because if you use it in the right way, it can be life transforming. But what you're also doing is you're getting the feedback of the feel of how that pendulum feels to rotate when it's spinning. And you're removing your conscious mind from the movement of that pendulum as it spins. So already you're training yourself without even knowing it,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Because even when you're doing this, you spin the pendulum,
yeah,
and the other part of that is you remove your consciousness from it and allow it to continue until it changes movement. So you are in effect already training your mind and your body to go into the dowsing state.
yeah.
Just a little tip, it's an easy way in.
Exactly. It's a really
Rather
simple
than
way.
struggling, going, oh, I haven't got a movement,
Yeah,
or it's not telling me the right answer to a question.
yeah.
Don't go there. Start down a different track.
And that's interesting in itself as well, because when I think a certain amount of people come into using a pendulum because they want to ask certain questions, but
Yes,
you need to think about the questions you're asking. Like if
very
you're
much.
asking, does somebody love me?
Yes,
Like your unconscious really, it doesn't really know for sure, because and also things are changing all the time.
that's right.
1 minute someone might be feeling very positive towards you, and then a couple of hours later they might not be feeling quite that.
Exactly.
Might have
That's
changed.
right.
They might have spoken to someone and thought, oh right, yeah, no, actually, I don't want to go down that path. So sometimes I see a lot on the groups, people say,
Yes,
oh, does somebody love me, or this, that, and the other, or
yes,
and I sort of think, oh no, here we go again.
yeah. And the other thing, again, it kind of moves away from that tendency that you describe, is to go straight in using charts
Yeah.
rather than, okay, sure, find your positive and your negative and all the rest of it, but go straight in using charts, because there's less room for error in a chart.
Exactly. So try, if you are asking questions that you particularly want a certain outcome to,
Yeah.
you need to be neutral, because you
Yes.
can influence your pendulum by thinking, like you showed earlier, you can make it move
You can make it move. Yeah. Yeah.
equally on a chart. You can also, maybe you see an answer, oh yeah, I want that one, it will go there.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, funny enough, one of the interesting things about our charts, Frog writes all the words in calligraphy. Now, for me, because I'm partially sighted, I can't see what they are when I'm doing my work.
Right.
Perfect, because then I can't go, I want it to go here, and he also, funny enough, coming back to what you were saying about the golden ratio, all our charts are designed on the golden ratio as well.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm gonna after we do this, I'm gonna get your address, because I'm gonna send you our new chart book, because I think you'll enjoy it. But anyway, should we wrap up for today?
Yes, indeed.
I know we're gonna have you back again at some point.
Thank you.
So thank you everyone who's watched. Thank you, Rodney, for all the invaluable advice. I hope everyone watches this video, and please do give us a like if you like the content, and subscribe as well. Go on, press the subscribe button.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but for now we'll say goodbye, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
The masters of the